So far I have so far the first day we said some things on, some cultural practices that needs to be done. Whenever you want to go into farming, you need to go into certain cultural practices. So, and such cultural practices we made mention of site selection, we made mention of so many things and all of that. However, today we will be going into something more. In fact, yesterday we did quite some things. Yesterday we handled farming calendar, and we also made mention of how to prepare, budgets. You want to go into farming, cost of labor, all of that, what is going to cost you to get your seed, and what is going to cost you to, get your fertilizer, what is going to cost to hire the labor that may prepare your plot for you in terms of clearing, in terms of tillage, and so all of those things were handled yesterday. And also partially we said some things about irrigation, but today we dwell more on fertilizers. And of course, fertilizers can be it has a very peculiar case. So that is why fertilizer is very, very important that we really spend some time to talk about it, because no matter what you do, fertilizer makes a great difference when it comes to farming. Fertilizer can take your productivity from 1 ton per hectare to up to 5 tons per hectare if it is properly applied. So that is why the issue of fertilizer in crop production cannot be overemphasized. So we'll be going into that. So we'll be talking about different types of fertilizer, and we say that a good gardener knows the importance of fertilizer, knowing that fertilizers best fits the needs of specific plants. We help you to maximize your garden's growth, because fertilizer experts, as you know differently, there are different options and nutrients that can impact your plant. So in fertilizer, we have organic fertilizer and inorganic fertilizers. Organic fertilizers and inorganic fertilizers, and I have tried to differentiate between that even in the course of my facilitation in the last 2 days. And of course, we do make it clear that organic fertilizers are made from natural and organic materials, especially from all this manure, compost manure, poultry droppings, animal dungs, dead organic matter, all manner of things that are, natural things and all of that. So these fertilizers are likely said to be green sources, though there isn't a measurable amount of any specific nutrient. So some bags we print estimate of those, estimates of the constituent and not all of that. So organic fertilizers tends to work slowly and over a long time. That is one of the things we said. The reason is because plants can only take them up when they're already in the inorganic form, and it will take time for it to be broken down by the activity of microorganisms. So it can help to build up your soil over time. So if you want to use organic fertilizer to do your farming, you need to apply it early enough over time so that it would have been incorporated into the soil. The process of mineralization would have taken place, and the inorganic form released such that plants can easily take them up and use them when they are needed. So now I'll be going into, inorganic fertilizers are made up of chemical compounds that contain necessary nutrients. So if you are looking to give your field a boost, it's likely to be the best option for. So for successful short-term growth, determine what nutrient your plant will need and use an inorganic fertilizer with them. So we'll be talking about some of the components of fertilizers. Generally, we'll be talking about them, and we say that most of the fertilizers we use here in the tropics, call it whether organic or inorganic, some of their major constituents include what we call NPK. That is why you see that in the market, most of the fertilizers that are available are NPK fertilizers. It could come in different ratios of either 15, 15, 15 or 20, 10, 10. It means the ratio 15, 15, 15 means both nitrogen, potassium, and the phosphorus are all in the ratio of 15, 15, 15. Whereas 20, 10, 10 means nitrogen has 20, ratio percent to the other ones that have just 10, 10. So all of that, and that is how they they can be used for different crops according to the needs of these crops. So now, nitrogen fertilizer. Nitrogen is a plant nutrient responsible for growth. So this ingredient is useful in fertilizer, particularly during the middle stage of plant lifespan. So when it needs encouragement to continue to grow large and stem new leaves, both organic and inorganic fertilizers have sources of nitrogen in them. So sources of nitrogen are in organic and inorganic fertilizers. So also, when we talk about phosphate or phosphorus, phosphorus is a nutrient that plant needs continuously throughout their life cycle. So phosphorus helps to strengthen the root system and the stem of plants. Flowering, seeding, and fruiting can also be improved with phosphorus. Now, let me also say that in most cases, you see that farmers just pack all this poultry manure. You just go and pack poultry manure. Maybe you have access to a poultry farmer, and the person gives you so much poultry manure, and you just go and dump them in your field somewhere. It depends. If it's a vegetable farm, it may be very wonderful. But if it's plant crop like cassava, and you apply excessive nitrogen to it, you may get something negative. You may end up getting more of stems, more of leaves than the tubers, and all of that. So that is why you have to be very, very careful when you are applying some of these, maybe organic. You need to apply them at a minimal rate, especially when they are needed, just to overcome that, maybe to be able to develop a good rooting and stem system first, a good stem and the vegetative system. So after which you ensure that other things that may be put in place will be some of other nutrients like phosphorus and potassium that may enhance the rooting capability of the crop. If you dump excessive nitrogen, of course, poultry manure has almost 90% nitrogen in it. So when it is dumped in our soil, you may end up, especially if it's a tuber crop, you may end up causing more harm because you won't get root, you won't get tuber, you rather end up getting something more than that. So that is why that phosphorus is very, very important, because it helps both stem the rooting system as well as stem of plant, flowering, seeding, and fruiting. So the phosphorus can help to improve all of that. And also then when we talk about potassium will help your plant to grow deeper and stronger roots, to help your plant to grow deeper and also develop stronger roots. So it can also help protect your plant from harm when they are deprived of other nutrients. So potassium is very, very important. So when some other nutrients are lacking and potassium is available, it can really help your plant or your crop to be sustained for some time before even those nutrients may be supplied. So this nutrient is vital for photosynthesis and has the ability to slow down any disease that may infect your crop or your field. So potassium fertilizers has a lot of benefits. So when when and how of planting this with these fertilizers will likely depend on the kind of crops you are planting, the time of planting, and all of that. So when you are using this fertilizer, place it on a close to you place. Of course, we are coming to how you're going to be applying these fertilizers, how you will apply them so as a method of application, so that you get something good. So forms of fertilizer. Fertilizer comes in few different forms. We have liquid fertilizers. Liquid fertilizers are there. Some of them are highly concentrated. You may just drop some measure, like 5 ml in maybe 20 liters of water and spray it on your crops, and they will have significant effect on them. We also have powder fertilizers. We also have granular, and all of that. We also have liquid. Liquid fertilizers are often diluted with water, as I said. Spreading them is similar to watering your garden. So you may add them to your irrigation water if it's dry season farming, and they will just sink into this thing and the plant will use them. Usually done with a hose attachment. So powder fertilizers also need water to be able to dilute them and also to be able to do well. Usually they are spread by hand and watered for water to complete as absorption. Granular lawn fertilizers can easily be spread on top of soil. So these nutrient pack granule will be soaked into your garden even over time as you water it. Now, we'll be talking about some methods of application. Let me just share my screen briefly so that we see a kind of a flow chart of application, flow chart. So when I'll be sharing my screen briefly so that we'll be able to see what is like, what the flow chart of fertilizer application. So this is what the flow chart looks like, the different types of fertilizer application that we have. We have broadcasting, we have placement, we have band placement, we have pellet application. We have all of this. And now, under broadcasting, we have basal application, we have top dressing. All of these I will explain. Then under placement, we have a plow sow placement, we have deep placement, we have localized placement. Then under band placement, we have a heel placement, we have row placement, and the next we have pellets. We have pellets. Now, of course, most of the ones that some of us are used to, especially some who are into traditional, farming. If you have farmed before in your village, some of the ones you may know about may just be, broadcasting. You just carry the fertilizer, you just spread it like as though you are spreading sand, so to say, on the crops and all of that. That just broadcasting. But then for farming generally, there are several types of fertilizer applications, and I will be explaining them for us now. So now let's go back to that. And I now said that broadcasting refers to spreading fertilizer uniformly all over the field. Broadcasting refers to spreading fertilizers all over the field, of course. Now, we have two suitable for crops with dense stand. Broadcasting is suitable for crops that have dense stand. When you have larger concentration of standing crops, then the plant roots permeate the whole volume of soil. So large doses of fertilizer are applied, and insoluble phosphate fertilizer such as rock phosphate may be used. So broadcasting of fertilizer may be of two types. As I said, we have broadcasting, and we also have top dressing. So these broadcasting are sown or planting, that is basal application. The main objective of broadcasting the fertilizer at sowing time are to uniformly distribute the fertilizer over the entire field and to mix it with soil. You uniformly spread the fertilizers over the entire field, and the fertilizer over time will just melt and, permeate into the soil and translate into nutrients that these plants can use. So we also have we have top dressing. So in the case of top dressing, it is the broadcasting of fertilizer, particularly nitrogenous fertilizers, in closely sown crops like paddy and wheat. So with the objective of supplying nutrients or nitrogen in readily available. So top dressing is especially plant like rice or wheat that are usually closely planted together. So you apply them on a top dressing to enable them, have a uniform absorption, and that will, help. And now, does any of these things have a disadvantage? Does broadcasting have a disadvantage? Yes. The main disadvantage through broadcasting include nutrients may not be fully utilized by plant roots as they move literally over long distance. They move over long distance. Some of the roots move over long distance. So when you place this nutrient very close to the roots, the roots that have moved very far would have been looking for something else and wouldn't be able to get this. So also the weeds grown wheat growth is stimulated all over the field as the plants are using the broadcasted fertilizers. Also the weeds will also be using it. So it's usually advised that this very method of application, that you must have weeded your field just immediately after weeding before the fertilizers will be applied. Otherwise, you may end up spending more of that fertilizer to entertain the weeds that are in that soil. Before you would have entertained the weeds, they would have taken larger portion of that fertilizer, and you end up, not really getting the required result. So now, nutrients are fixed in the soil as they come in contact with large mass of soil. So some large mass of soil will just attract these nutrients and get them, fixed. And when they are fixed, they become immobilized. They cannot be utilized by plants anymore. So placement refers to the placement of fertilizer in soil at a specific place with or without reference to the position of the seed. Now, so placement of fertilizer is normally recommended when the quantity of fertilizer to supply is small. So development of the root system is poor. Soil has to supply phosphate and potassic fertilizer. Now, so when you don't have so much fertilizer, when you have just small quantity of fertilizer, placement is very, very necessary. The reason is because you will just take these fertilizers and place them just very close to the plant, so that the plant can just utilize that fertilizer as they are being placed there, and it will be very, very useful to them. Now, the most common method of
Dr. Obasi.
The most common method of placement.
Dr. Bassi, can you hear
Hello?
me? Dr. Bassi, I thought you wanted to share your screen.
Okay, okay.
Can you share your screen so that the participants will see you very well and we follow better? Is it possible for you from your end to share your screen?
Okay. Okay, let me do that. Let me do that. It's okay.
All right, thank you so much. You are doing wonderfully well.
Thank you, ma. Okay. Let's get that done. Okay. Yeah, good. So I'm sure you're following right now. You
okay.
See my screen?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, doctor.
We have, in this method, fertilizer is placed at the bottom of the plow furrow in a continuous band during the process of plowing. So in this matter, in this case, you would have, place during plowing, you will place some fertilizer at the bottom of your plow furrow. So the essence of this one is that even before your crops start coming up, before your plants start coming up, the nutrients would have really been readily available, especially, for the organic ones, they would have been readily available for plants to quickly utilize them. Now, every band is covered as the next furrow is turned. Every band is covered as the next furrow is turned. This is in the plowing case, whereby the disc of the plowing disc would have been collecting the soil, and they are using to cover the next furrow. So when this is done, what it does is that it makes these fertilizers to be really very, very available. As the roots are going into the soil, they are directly picking these nutrients. They are directly picking them up. Now, this method also is suitable for areas where soil becomes quite dry, up to a few cm below the soil surface, and soil having a heavy clay pan just below the plow soil layer. So this method is a bit recommended when we have a soil that has a hard pan, soil that has agylic horizons, when there's large concentration of laterite, of this sesquioxide or oxides of iron and aluminum, making it a bit difficult for plants to take their roots down the soil. So when you have applied this and use some soil to cover it, then as these crops are growing, the soils that have been placed on top of this soil will now mix with these fertilizers and make the nutrients available to plants. Now we also have a deep placement. We have deep placement. It is the placement of ammonical nitrogenous fertilizer in the reduction zone of soil, particularly in paddy field. Now, there's what we call oxidation and reduction. There's what we call oxidation and reduction. Oxidation, just the simple definition of oxidation is addition of oxygen, reduction is removal of oxygen. Now, when we have paddy is just rice field. When we have a paddy field, of course, because of the large concentration of moisture, especially in lowland rice, you realize that one of the challenges we have there is lack of oxygen, because the water would have covered some of the pore spaces in the soil, making it difficult for oxygen to penetrate the soil. So the situation we have there is a reduction because there is no oxygen available and all of that. So under this condition, we need this deep placement. And why do we need it? Of course, rice needs so much nitrogen. Ammonia has so much nitrogen in it. Ammonical nitrogenous fertilizers in this reduced zone. So for this rice, so where this nitrogenous remains available to the crops. Now, the method ensures better distribution of fertilizer in the root zone soils and prevent loss of nutrients because of runoff. So that is why we use a deep placement. Also, in the case of localized placement now, it refers to the application of fertilizers into the soil close to the seed or plant in order to supply the nutrients in adequate amount to the roots of growing plants. So the common method of to place fertilizer close to the seed of plants are as follow. We have drilling, we have side dressing, and we have also band placement. And in the case of drilling, in this method, the fertilizer is applied at the time of sowing by means of seed corn fertilizer drill. There's a machine that is called a fertilizer drill, seed corn fertilizer drill. So this places fertilizer and the seed in the same row, but at different depths. So although this method has been found suitable for the application of phosphoric and potassium fertilizers in cereal crops, but sometimes germination of seed and young plant may get damaged due to high concentration of soluble salt. Yes, so that is why sometimes, especially when fertilizers have been applied, there is a whole lot of chemical reaction taking place in fertilizers. So some of them, when seeds come in contact with them at certain level, they may have challenge, they may be burned in the process of that reaction. So, but then some cases, due to the situation, we may not have to do without using some of this method, especially the drilling method. Now we have a side dressing. We have side dressing, and it refers to spread of fertilizer in between the rows and around the plant. So the common method of side dressing are placement of nitrogenous fertilizers by hand in between the rows of crops like maize, sugarcane, cotton, so to apply additional dose of nitrogen to the growing crops. So we place the nitrogenous fertilizer by hand now in between the rows of crops and like maize and sugarcane. So we also have this placement of fertilizer around the trees like mango. So these ones are very, very useful for plants like, maize, that when you grow them on ridges in a very large field, and some other, tree crops like, say, mango, apple, grapes, papaya, and the rest of them. So we also have band placement. Band placement is refers to placement of fertilizer in bands. So band placements are of two types. We have hill placement, we have row placement. So in hill placement, it is practical for the application of fertilizer in orchards. In this method, fertilizers are placed close to the plant in bands on one or both sides of the plant. So the length and depth of the band varies with the nature of the crops. We'll be seeing row placement now when the crops like sugarcane, potatoes, maize, cereals, etc. are sown close together in rows. So the fertilizer is applied in continuous band on one or both sides of the row, which is known as row placement. We can see the row placement in the figure there. We can see that these crops, this field have been plowed, and these fertilizers were spread in between the rows even before the planting. So this situation would have helped these fertilizers. They would have all been soaked into the soil. The soil would have taken them even before you would have the plant would have started coming up. So they are readily available for plants, and this will also aid germination of the plant as they are coming up. So I think lastly here we have pellets. Pellets refers to the placement of nitrogenous fertilizer in the form of pellets, 2.5 to 5 cm deep between the row of paddy. So the fertilizer is mixed with soil in the ratio of 1 1:10 and made small pellets of convenient size to deposit in the mud of paddy water, of course, or paddy field. Of course, we know that most of the fertilizers we use, one of the things we have to know is that these fertilizers are not just being applied exactly as they are. So when we talk about 15-15-15 fertilizer now, 15-15-15 fertilizer ratio NPK in a particular bag of fertilizer, one of the things you should know is that 15-15-15 means when you add 15 times 3, what do you get? 45, right? And that bag, it means that out of the entire bag of that fertilizer, what is fertilizer there is just 45%. The other 55% were made up of earth, were made up of what they call fillers. So these are some of the things they add in the fertilizers. Some of them can now be subjected to pellets, to produce pellets. These pellets that they can now use as some special locations, situation for some certain crops too. So they use them and all of that. And of course, some of the fertilizers we have in the market have been incorporated. They are already been produced into this format for easy handling. Because when you just place these nutrients, now NPK, you just gather them in that 45% ratio and you just place them. Some of them can be highly volatile and some of them can also be very, very dangerous to handle. Some fertilizers, when you touch it, you see that it's burning your hand, it's burning it's because of the concentration of these fertilizers in it. So based on that, all of this needs to be properly handled and mixed so as to enable it to work well. So advantage of placement, the main advantage are as follows. When a fertilizer is placed, there is minimum contact between the soil and the fertilizer, and thus fixation of nitrogen is greatly reduced. The weeds all over the field cannot make use of fertilizers, so the residual response of fertilizer is usually higher. Utilization of fertilizers by the placement is also higher, so loss of nutrient by leaching is reduced. Being made immobile, phosphates are better utilized when it is done by placement. Now we have application of liquid fertilizers. We have liquid fertilizers. Some liquid fertilizers, we have what we call starter solution, foliar application, fertigation, injection into soil, and area application. So these are some, especially liquid fertilizers, some of the ways that they can be used. So starter solution refers to the application of solution of N, P, and K, nitrogen, then potassium oxide, phosphate oxide, and the potassium oxide in the ratio of 1:2:1 and 1:1:2 to young plant at the time of transplanting, particularly for vegetables. So starter solution helps in rapid establishment and quick growth of seedlings. So the disadvantage of starter solution are extra labor may be required, and fixation of phosphates under this condition is higher. So foliar application refers to the spraying of fertilizer solutions containing one or more nutrients on the foliar of growing plants. When we talk about foliar now, means on the upper part, the leafy part, the vegetative part, fertilizers are spread on them. Several nutrient elements are readily absorbed by leaves when they are dissolved in water and spread on the vegetative parts of plants or crops. So concentration of spray solution has to be controlled, otherwise serious damage may result due to scorching of the leaf. So that when you are applying some fertilizers, liquid fertilizers, you have to reduce the concentration. Otherwise, as it comes in contact with the leaf, it will just burn it off, and that will reduce the photosynthetic value of the leaves, and that may not really go well with the field. So foliar application is effective for the application of minor nutrients like iron, copper, boron, zinc, manganese. Sometimes insecticides are also applied along with these fertilizers, whereby you mix them together. Of course, when we talk about these nutrients, we call them trace elements or trace nutrients because they are required by plant in a very small form. So those are the kind of nutrients that may be applied using this method of foliar application. And of course, because they are needed in very small amount, you would have diluted these nutrients to a very great extent. You would have diluted it so well. So when you must have diluted it so well, you now begin to apply them. So nutrients like all this iron, cobalt, nickel, boron, zinc, manganese, and all of them, they are such nutrients. You may also mix them up with insecticide as you apply them at the same time. So also the one we call fertigation is when fertilizer is mixed with irrigation water. I think I mentioned that earlier. You can just put your liquid fertilizer in an irrigation water, and when you put it there, you begin to apply them. And as this water, irrigation water, is coming in contact with the root of plants, they are taking both the water in the nutrient in them already be made available or dissolved. So it refers to application of water-soluble fertilizer through irrigation water. The nutrients are thus carried into soil in solution. So generally, nitrogenous fertilizers are applied through irrigation water. So you can see the plant in this picture. You can see how the water was just spread around the base of the plant. Of course, that water has been mixed with fertilizer, and that is making it easy to be absorbed. Now, injection into soil. Injection into soil. Liquid fertilizers for injection into soil. The soil may be of either pressure or non-pressure type. So, non-pressure solution may be applied either on the surface or in furrow without appreciable loss of plant nutrients under most conditions. So anhydrous ammonia must be placed in narrow furrow at a depth of 12 to 15 cm and covered immediately by to prevent loss of ammonia. So some volatile, highly volatile fertilizers such as ammonium are usually applied through injection into the soil. You inject it. The reason is because when you place them at the surface of the soil, as the sun is coming up, all of them will turn the kinetic energy will take. All of them will just volatilize. They will all pick their particles, and we just all turn into gas, and they will all evaporate into the air. So this nutrient will not be available, will not be used for crops. So based on that, you now realize that there will be need to inject it. Of course, you even have as high as 12 to 15 centimeter that you may have to dig maybe around your crops and all of that, and you put that fertilizer and quickly cover it. So before you know it, they would have translated into nutrients and taken up by plant and wouldn't evaporate. So here we also have area application. I think that's the last one there. Area application, when you have a field that is up to 50 hectares, up to 50 hectares of land. Of course, you may not use hand to apply fertilizer there because you may not be able to complete that in the next 6 months, even if you engage like 10 or 20 people doing that. So some very big farms, they use aircraft or some kind of drones by aircraft, particularly in hilly areas, in forest land, in grassland, or in sugarcane. So there are so many reasons for that too, like in sugarcane, where you realize some of these areas may not be easily accessible. Some of these areas may be very, very dangerous to the body, because if you have access to it directly, to apply that. So you use area application. So aircraft will fly, cruise across the field, and we apply your fertilizer for you there. So now we want to talk about, I will be talking about fertilizer requirement of crops like cassava, maize within the, I think, I don't know, I still have maybe the next few minutes I'll be running on, but I will talk about fertilizer requirements of maize and of cassava. And then after that, any other crops that may not be covered here, the fertilizer requirement too for those of us. The reason why here is that these are major common crops. Here in our platform here, we have a lot of people who are going into cassava farming. So we need to talk about fertilizer requirements and all of that. So now it is good for us to know that generally we have macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients and micro. Macro means large, micro means small. Macro means the nutrients that are required in a larger quantity. You require them in a larger quantity before they can actually make significant effects on your crops. And we say that some of them are in the form of examples are nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, calcium, and even sodium. And the fertilizer requirements of this in a macro form may be up to 198 kg of nitrogen per hectare. 198 kg of nitrogen per hectare in cassava farm. Also for phosphates, phosphorus oxide, you may be needing as much as 70 kg per hectare. For potassium, you may be needing like 220 kg per hectare. For magnesium, you may be needing like 47 kg per hectare. For calcium, you may be needing like 143 kg per hectare. And sodium, just like 19, no, that is sulfur, not sodium. That is sulfur, 19 kg per hectare. That is the ones that are required in very high quantity. Now, micronutrients. Micronutrients are usually just as the word micro. Micro is something that is small. So we rate it in gram per hectare now, not in kg. It is 1,000 grams that makes 1 kg. So this time around, we need them just in gram. Gram is very, very small. So you need to gather as high as 1,000 of 1 gram before you get just 1 kg. So now, for instance, something like iron now that needs 900 gram per hectare. You realize that even this 900 gram is still less than 1 kg. So 900 grams per hectare of iron now, because it's a micronutrient. It's a micronutrient. The reason why these micronutrients are required in this very minute level is because some of them can be dangerous to health. Some of them can be very, very cancerous. So when you take them in larger doses, it may result to health challenge. So that is why they are needed in this small quantity, and they're also doing their own work. We have zinc. Zinc is 660 grams per hectare, and manganese is like 1,090. In other words, just like 1.9 kg of manganese. That is what you need in in 1 hectare. And boron, 200, and copper is 80. Copper is 80. Of course, you know the reason why we graded these things. You know where micronutrients come in our periodic table with our secondary school chemistry knowledge. We know that micronutrients are nutrients from first 21 element to first 30 elements. And among them, you have like scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, magnesium, iron, cobalt, nickel, copper, zinc. So these are where they come in the periodic periodic table, and that informs some of the characteristics they exhibit, and we group them as micronutrients, whereas those other ones like the normal NPK and the magnesium, calcium, and sulfur fertilizers are usually required in a relatively high concentration or high requirement. So my macronutrient cassava respond well to fertilizer N with an expected yield increase of 50 kg of tuber or more per kilogram of N applied. Can you now see that if, for instance, you chose to apply, you chose to apply like 100 kg, and each kg is capable of raising your yield by 50 kg. Yes, each kg here, they say cassava respond well to fertilizer N with expected yield increase of 50 kg of tuber or more per kilogram of N that you applied is capable of raising your yield by up to 50 kg. So with insufficient nitrogen, individual tubers will be thin and they contain less starch. However, excess N may result in an excessive or vegetative growth in expense of tuber. I said this earlier, when you apply excess nitrogen to cassava farm, it will end up growing so much vegetatively and with very large stems, but there will be nothing there as your tuber harvest. So a common recommendation is to use 40 to 80 kg N per hectare depending on circumstances. So on low fertile soil, you may use up to 120 kg per hectare, and this can be applied where other growing conditions are favorable. The total N to be applied may be split between a basal application and a top dressing. So many soil on which cassava is grown are poorly supplied with P, and the crop has consistently shown considerable benefit from P fertilizer. So even though cassava may be better use of soil P than do for crops like potato. So under most conditions, 40 to 80 kg of potassium, phosphorus rather, phosphate or phosphorus oxide is suggested. A good supply of K, which is potassium now, is essential for cassava, giving a benefit of up to 100 kg of tuber per kg of potassium oxide, and helping to offset the various large removal of K in the tuber at high yield. So K increase yield primarily by increasing tuber size. So you can now see what the actual work that potassium does in crops. It's when you harvest a crop, be it yam, be it cassava, and the tubers are very big, it is the potassium that is responsible for that. So it increases your yield by enlarging the tubers. So K deficiency, deficient plant can contain toxic level of hydrocyanic acid in the tubers, and of course this hydrocyanic acid is very, very toxic. It's very, very dangerous to health and all of that. So when you hear that some cassavas they contain some chemicals that kill or that can cause health challenges, it is lack of K deficient in that plant may have resulted to that large concentration of this hydrocyanic acid that is very, very poisonous, even both for human beings and animals. So on soil of moderate K status, 100 to 130 kg potassium sulfate per hectare is recommended with adjustment for different soil levels of K. Now, the optimal timing of K application depends on the status of soil, the K status of the soil, which also determines the amount of K to be applied. So generally, K application in two equal splits of 50% at basal and 50% 2 months after planting. So you plant, you spread them into, you divide them into 2 times, you apply twice, apply the first 50% at the beginning and 50% after 2 weeks after planting. In general, N and K, nitrogen and potassium ratio of 1:1 is suggested. Micronutrient deficiencies of zinc, molybdenum, and boron can occur in soil under cassava. So with optimal NPK application, soil application of 12.5 kg of zinc sulfate increased tuber yield by 4 tons per hectare. So 1 kg of ammonium molybdate raised it by 2.8 ton per hectare, and 10 kg of borax increased tuber yield by 3.1 ton per hectare. So zinc deficiency can be controlled by the application of zinc sulfate at a rate of 1 to 2 kg per hectare at planting, or by incorporating zinc oxide before planting. Excuse me. So under moderate deficiency, foliar application of 1 to 2% zinc sulfate may be effective, while under alkaline condition, stake treatment by dipping 2 to 5% solution of zinc sulfate for 15 minutes. Now, lastly, we'll be talking just briefly about fertilizer maize. The response of maize to fertilizer. Of course, maize is also one of the crops. And of course, when we treat maize, you should also link it to sorghum. You should link it to millet, because they are all cereals, and to some reasonable extent, their fertility requirements seems to be almost the same. Also, when we also talk about cassava, you also link it to something like yam and even potato and all of those crops that use tuber, because to some reasonable extent, their requirements may just be the same. Maize respond well to both organic and chemical fertilizer. However, since it is usually a staple crop growing on large field, mostly farmers are unable. Farmers are unlikely to have enough organic fertilizers to meet maize nutrients needs. Chemical fertilizers can give excellent return if used as part of an appropriate package or practice. So evaluating fertilizer response when starting from low yield base of 1,000 to 1,500 kg per hectare, yield of shelled maize should increase by up to 25 to 50 kg, up to 25 to 50 kg for each 1 k of N applied, up to a yield of about 4,000 to 5,000. So from 1,000 to 1,500 kg per hectare, you are expected to have 4,000 to 5,000 kg per hectare when these nutrients are properly applied in a maize farm. So above this, the response usually drop below this ratio. So you now know that there's a level to which when you've applied, your yield will even rather decrease. So you need to know this. So the response formula applied to rates within the such yield boost will be obtained. So other nutrients like P, that's phosphorus, and potassium are applied as needed. Soil moisture is adequate. A response variety is used, and there are no serious limiting factors such as insect, disease, weed, poor drainage, excessive soil acidity. So fertilizer is applied correctly and at the right time. Example, for instance, in 1975-76, 168 small farmers in Zaire took part in a program, PNN. So yield average of 4,700 kg per hectare using fertilizer rate of 60 to 40, 60 is to 45 is to 30 kg per hectare of NPK. Given that average yield without fertilizers were about 15 kg per hectare, did the farmer get a good response? Now, according to the response formula, about 64 kg of N should produce a yield increase of about 1,600 to 3,200 kg per hectare for a total yield of 3,100. So you now realize that under this, we have 1,600 to plus 1,000. Okay, since farmers average 4,700 kg per hectare. Each kg of N increase yield by 50 kg. A very good response. So NPK needs of maize and other grass family crops are more efficient K extractors than most other crops. So on many loamy to clay soils of volcanic origin, little or no K may be needed. But check to make sure. Research has shown that maize can effectively utilize up to 60 kg of P while a localized placement method is used. Now, you realize that at that application of about 64 to 45 to 30 kg per hectare, yield was able to rise up to from the usual 1,500 maybe kg per hectare, 1,000 to 1,500, you were seeing something like 4,000 to 5,000 kg per hectare. So this is what rifle application of fertilizer can do for us. So we have only, I have only chosen to feature two crops, that's cassava and maize here. While some other crops, for some of our students that may be going to some other crops, you may also maybe contact me later on that, or if you still have any question on that, you may also ask. So that is that for now. I think I'm done for now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Bassi. That was a very wonderful presentation. And I want to, before I start looking for participant question, I want to commend you for this wonderful expose. In all the things you are talking about, me that is a non-farmer, I learned a lot. And I want to ask you, do you have any association for farmers in Nigeria? Do you have farmers association, organization, umbrella, regulating the affairs of farmers in this country? Because from what you are saying, you know, we have organic and inorganic manure. Yes. Organic is actually good, but you see that our people, they place more emphasis on the inorganic manure, which is fertilizer. And yes. Now from all the things you are talking about, I can see the harmful effects of fertilizer in the body, for human consumption. Most of them will go to the market, buy fertilizer. What they know is that fertilizer will boost their crop. They don't even know the quantity of fertilizer to put. They don't even know which one is zinc, which one is iron. As you're now explaining, I'm learning a lot. I have copper, I have potassium, I have everything. They don't know the right quantity. They will just pack the fertilizer. They don't even know how to apply it. So my question is basically, do you people have farmers association? If you don't have, you that is a professional, it's people like you that will set it up. Meet the government. Let them give people the power for anybody in this country that will come out, even if the person is planting in his or her own backyard, the person must go for training. Because we are talking about human lives here. The people in every nook and cranny of this country, people should take up this and be in charge. Because here in the remote villages, many of them don't even know what they're talking, and many of them, they have farms. What they plant all the vegetables, they plant in whatever level. And they use all this in there. When they bring all this in the body, you see that people eat, and then we start having a lot of health challenges without even knowing where they're coming from. When somebody will pack all the zinc and add the copper and whatever in in the wrong quantity, and then you that is a professional, you know the health hazard we are facing. So I am suggesting that you people will come up with the umbrella of farmers. You people are the one holding our health too. The people in the north, they will plant all the potato, all the granules, all the tomato, and then ship it to every nook and cranny of this country. The rice, everything, the staple food. everything about food. So they should be trained. Whether the person is cultivating in his backyard, the government will put a legislation that nobody will plant without having certificates in whatever level. There must be sanity in this country. Because I'm actually shocked from all these things you are saying now. You see, a lot of things, most of them causes cancer if they are not used in the right quantity. When you consume it, it will cause cancer and other things. And so, my brother, you that are the professional farmers, since Monday, I have been hearing a lot of farmers talking about the farmer from he studied abroad, one of the universities abroad. I keep on listening to what he's saying. So I am actually appealing. You people should be strong to save lives. It's not enough for the government to keep on shipping fertilizer. They are making fertilizer available without training the people on how to use that fertilizer. Okay? Okay, I want to see if we have questions for you. The participants, please, you have been told how to raise your hand. If you have questions, you can ask question direct, or you put it in a chat. I will now ask the presenter. Okay. But overall, this is a wonderful presentation. Thank you, Dr. Bassi. Nice having you.
Thank you.
Apologize for yesterday. I was not available yesterday. I was under the weather. But I'm okay now, and I'm glad to be here.
It's okay. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, having you to moderate today. Is really wonderful indeed. We have really missed you because the first day we were expecting you, the second day we were expecting you. But my joy is that at least you participated before the end of the whole thing. So we are seeing you, and really you are really putting the touch of professional to the work.
Thank you. What actually happened on the first day was
so you have really done well. So with respect to what you raised, let me attend to it maybe before we go further. Actually, the challenge we have in this the challenge we have in this country is more more political somehow. People, enroll. They form cooperative societies, they form farmer bodies and all of that to get fertilizers from government, to get support. Some of them even end up selling it. They are not interested in, let's see how we are going to take farming to next level in this country to provide enough food and quality food too to the citizenry. So that is the challenge, and I am a specialist in soil. My area of specialization is soil survey and land use planning. And I want to tell you, soil science have been made to have an institute. We now have NIS, National Association of Soil Scientists, that is recognized by the federal government of Nigeria, which was approved in 2017. So based on that now, nobody will go into commercial farming now, or you want to do anything on soil at a commercial level without some permission of soil scientists, or getting a soil scientist that will certify you and give you the necessary guide and all of that, because that is where it starts now. Where we are even having problem first is in the kind of fertilizer companies we have in the country. Some of them don't even have these very good, recommended ratios of fertilizer in the first place. You understand? They just go produce one thing in the name of fertilizer, bring out, farmers will collect and apply, and people will eat, and there will be trouble. So all of this, the National Association of Soil Science, they are working on that to control that. And I also believe some other bodies are also working in their own little way. So let's believe that God helping us, we'll be able to get something positive with time. So thank you very much on that. You can carry on.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Obasi. Yeah, thank you very much. I believe that we start little by little. Rome was not built in a day, but people are moving in the right direction. I believe the farmers will also. And I want to tell you that a lot of people don't even go into commercial farming. You understand? So we are not waiting until those people that are into commercial farming. We should also move inward to people that are just doing it on their own. And if you come to the villages, why I have this knowledge is because where I am in Enugu, I'm actually inside the village. So I integrate very well with them. I see most of them from their remote village, they're big farmers, you wouldn't know. So we pack everything and come to the market and sell. So my own concern is that we are dealing with health. So from the commercial one, please, if we should move inward. Okay. Now your area of specialty is in soil. Yeah. Others that are in the other crop, or the real people that oversees the people that the things that the soil produce. Okay. People should also collaborate with them, because if you work is a symbiotic relationship. What we are talking about is to save lives. And our lives are in the hands of the farmers. Yeah, exactly. Our lives are in their hands, I'm telling you, whether they like it or not, okay? Because we must eat.
Definitely.
The soil must produce something, and it is what you give to the soil that the soil will yield.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
So it's just like a yin yang. As I was, okay, what happened on Monday was I was facilitating on Monday, so I couldn't. They couldn't. They didn't separate it. So because of that, I was not able to be with you. But I'm so happy to be with you today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have questions? Do we have a question for Dr. Bassi? If we don't have question, then my sister will take up.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, Zachary.
Yes, sir. Once more, good morning, sir.
Thank you very much.
What a wonderful presentation there. I really enjoyed it, sir.
Thank you.
And the question I want to ask, or an advice, sir, as a professional, what kind of fertilizer between the organic and inorganic fertilizer, which one do you advise us to use for yield and health-wise? Because by your presentation, the organic fertilizers are more, or the inorganic fertilizer are more, I don't know how to put it, in terms of yielding.
Yield.
In terms of yielding.
Yes,
it's very. So, but in terms of health, it's more harmful than the organic fertilizer. So as a professional, what advice do you give us? What fertilizer do we emphasize on, sir?
Okay. Thank you very much for that question. Network did not allow you to join us yesterday. Yes, somebody also raised such question. Mrs. Helen raised such question yesterday. Yes. And we talked about it too. So actually, the whole situation is that when you are growing crops, having in mind to do business with it, maybe you have collected loan from the bank and you need to actually have enough yield so as to offset your loan. Maybe you even have some employees working under you. Maybe you have even hired some facility that you need to pay for. So the number one thing in your mind is profitability, is profit. So based on that, the first thing that will come into your mind, how do we do to this crop so that they will yield? And that brings us to the reason why a whole lot of farmers use inorganic fertilizers. The reason is because, for instance, if you apply inorganic fertilizers on maize farm just today, in the next 3 days, you will see the effects. All of them would have become green. That is to show you the presence of nitrogen, and you see them growing healthy. But in the actual sense, does that mean that they are very, very good for consumption? They may not be. Now, organic fertilizers are better, but it means that you may have to do extra work if you want to use organic fertilizers. For instance, if you want to use organic fertilizers, you may have to come and apply them on the field even before plowing the field. You apply them on the field, spread them in the various parts of that field, then you will now plow it. So in the process of plowing, the soil and the organic manure will mix up even before you plant. So when you do that, because as I explained earlier, that organic materials, organic manure, will pass through the process of mineralization, whereby microorganisms will decompose these organic substances into inorganic form. So when they have been decomposed into inorganic form before plant to take them, so it's a process that takes quite some time. It takes quite some time before all of those processes will take place. But if you just allow it, you know, you don't you just apply it like that. Maybe when this organic materials will be made available, will even be when the plant will not need them again. Maybe at your harvest, but as at that point, they don't really need the nutrients again. And that is when microorganisms would have just finished decomposing it, producing the nutrients that they will use. And also, if these organic materials are not enough, the microorganisms that are breaking down will first of all eat the one they will use to nourish their cells. We call that one immobilization. So you see, it's a whole lot of issues. They say a worker will have to eat first, isn't it? So the microorganisms will first of all take the ones that will nourish their body. So only very few will remain for the crops. So if that is not properly handled, you just realize that at the end of the day, you would have fertilizers may be more expensive, but it gives you faster result than inorganic fertilizers may be more expensive, but it gives you faster result than the organic. So I don't know if I've been able to explain myself a little to us. Did you get me, Zachary?
Yes, I get you, sir. I really get you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that wonderful question. I want to chip in something. I want to chip in something now. When I was growing up, anyway, I'm still growing up, right? When I was a baby in primary school, my daddy normally ship us, all of us, to come to the East and study. And then he made sure that we are actually involved in agriculture. So during my primary school days, we have what we call compost manure.
Yes.
That is what we have, and that's where I have this knowledge of organic manure. The fertilizer was there, but we were taught on how to grow this organic manure. We gather everything, and then they will build one big something like this. We'll be putting things there. Sometimes we come and overhaul all those things. And then because we have farm in the school, in my place, and it is compulsory that every child must go through the agriculture. We are trained we have that advantage over others. So during the agriculture period, we all wear our shorts and everything and enter the farm. They taught us how to till the farm, like what you just said. You will weed, remove all the weeds, then start tilling, call it tillage. I don't know whether I'm correct, but I remember I call it tilling the ground. And then we now bring all those decomposed compost manure, which we call organic. Am I right? Am I using the right terminology?
Of course. In fact, you're a professional already.
I wish I don't know that, because the childhood knowledge is still there. And it's helping me up to today. Now we bring those compost manure, go to the farm, or each class, they have their own, and there's a competition for which class we have the best yield. So we go there and then spread all this, and then we leave it for some weeks before we now come to the real farming, whether it is yam or cassava or tomato or maize. And at the end of the year, okay, there's another thing we do. We call it irrigation or something. And that irrigation, we were told that it will help the nutrients not to be washed away. Am I correct, the farmer?
Of course, you are overcorrect.
So this thing you just said, when the rain fall, those things, those compost manure will still go inside because there is irrigation, there's a places we now built. It will not just be washing away. The rain will fall and then it will sink into the ground, which will help the plants, the yam tubers or the roots of the cassava or everything to absorb it. Okay? So the organic manure, from my own knowledge, primary knowledge that I have, is much, much better than the inorganic manure, health-wise. And then our people should be actually trained on the use of this organic manure. It is hard to get, but it's better health-wise. The challenges of inorganic manure, they are numerous. You mentioned this cancer. And also application, many of them don't know how to apply it. So we should learn less emphasis on this inorganic manure, which is fertilizer and the rest of them, okay? Many of them don't know how to apply the quantity to apply the nitrogen components or something, the zinc, the carbon, they don't know it. So my emphasis, doctor, is that people have a lot of work to do. Thank God for the participants that are here. But they're so,
thank you very much.
Thank you so much. How many hours do we have for this lecture? We are stopping by 10, right?
Yes. So we still have like 1 hour, 20 minutes to go.
Okay, is you. What of my sister? Is she not talking?
She's here. She's Miss Atinuke.
Okay, are you the one that we finished?
No, you will introduce her now. Okay.
I have my sister.
Good morning, doctor. I've been raising my hands up. I don't know.
Oh, sorry. We didn't see it.
Can you tell me your name? Who is speaking now? I'm not even seeing.
It's Mrs. Helen. She has been with us.
Helen. Hey, yeah, so sorry, dear. Okay, you have the floor now, Helen.
Okay. Thank you, doctor.
I would like to see the faces. I don't know why people are hiding now.
I didn't know that today's class supposed to start by 7, so I was still sleeping when I was informed.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yes. Thank you, doctor, for the wonderful lecture. I really enjoyed it. I have a lot of questions for you. Hope you're ready. So, concerning
Go ahead now. Let's see what we can do. Excuse me, because our time today is a bit limited, I may not take beyond 10. So if you are lasting beyond 9, rather.
No,
so
it's not that.
So if you are going beyond 9, so I will stop for my colleague to come on. But then after, you can communicate me privately for the question. Go ahead.
Okay, but it's not really that much.
Okay. Go ahead.
How often can one apply fertilizer on a crop? Like the intervals, because I think after applying maybe for like a month, I don't know how long it's going to last for the crop before you apply again.
Okay, that's number 1.
Yes. So, and what actually do vegetable need mostly? Is it nitrogen, phosphate, or potassium? And
No, doctor, I think you will allow her to finish her question.
Okay, go ahead.
Just be itemizing them.
And at what stage can one start applying fertilizer on a crop? And how do you apply fertilizer? Because I learned that there are like this inorganic fertilizer. If it touches the crop, it might burn it or destroy the seed. I'm into the vegetable part of it. How do I apply fertilizer around the crop? I mean the spacing to give. So these are my questions for now.
Okay, the first one you say, how often can one apply fertilizers?
Yes.
Then the second one is, what does vegetable need? Is it N, P, or K? Which one do they need more? Then the other one, how do you apply, fertilizer to vegetable? I think it's still the same question altogether. As I'm talking about the last one and the second one. So actually, when I was developing this material, because of how crash these programs look like, it didn't really give me enough time to kind of put some things together as I really expected. As a matter of fact, I actually wanted to say some things about vegetables. I wanted to take one vegetable, I wanted to take one tuber, I wanted to take one cereal, so to say. But at the end of the day, I couldn't really handle vegetable. And virtually all the questions you are asking now, they are all on vegetables. I'm happy about that. Now, for instance, one thing you should know whenever we talk about vegetable is that vegetable, that's green matter in vegetable. You understand? That very greenish, when vegetable is very green. You understand? In vegetable. What is responsible for that is nitrogen. You understand? So vegetables need more nitrogen than any other nutrient you can think of. And good enough, the major fertilizers we have in the market are usually for nitrogen fertilizers. We have urea. Urea is a nitrogen fertilizer. We have 20-10-10. We have 15-15-15, right?
Yes.
NPK. We have another one, NPK 20-10-10. So, and of course, they will always write NPK 20-10-10, right? So, in other words, when you have option to choose between 20-10-10 and 15-15, since it is vegetable you are going to use it for, you go for the fertilizer that have highest concentration of nitrogen. Example, urea or 20-10-10. Do you understand? Because they are highly, very, very useful to grow vegetative part of plant. As a matter of fact, I grew, there was a time I farmed cassava. About 3 years ago, 2016, 2017, I went into aggressive cassava farming. And I farmed cassava in up to almost 1 acre. But something happened. I went to carry poultry manure from a friend's farm. I bought so many of them. I brought them in my vehicle. So I just could not really spread this poultry manure, spread it evenly around. Some of them, I just dump them in one place, dump them in specific places. And I want to tell you, when rain came and this poultry manure, all of them got inside the ground. These cassavas, some of them, their stems were as tall as a house. They are taller than some buildings, and their leaves were wonderful. I was so happy that my crops will do well. But when it was time for harvest, I couldn't get anything from those cassavas. The ones that were mostly affected by this poultry manure, you understand? So the cassava has used the poultry manure to grow vegetatively, but at the expense of the root. And it is the root that I needed. And I learned a lot of lessons from that. So, but imagine if it was ugu vegetable that I had used it on. You understand? So you realize that it would have done so well and all of that. But while we are also doing that, we should do it at a normal rate. I will still forward you. There were some things I forwarded to you and Lawa. I don't know if you have gotten it. You understand? If you check your email, you will see I forwarded some materials, the one we did first day and second day, and some these things we did today too. I forwarded them to you. But I will still forward the one of vegetables to you. But by all means, just know that vegetables need more of nitrogen than any other fertilizer. Then the next question is, how often, at what intervals? Okay?
Yes.
The intervals of application is, Immediately you finish, it depends. So there are some fertilizers you even need to put in the soil before you start planting and all of that. But for some of our major these vegetable crops and all of that, you first of all plant and let the plant begin to have some stand, begin to a kind of survive the field challenge. Let it stand first after planting. That may be after 2 weeks of planting, you apply fertilizer. Then the next planting will be after weeding. You understand? Okay. Weeding may take place after four weeks or after 6 weeks, as the case might be. Immediately after weeding, do fertilizer again. So any fertilizer you are going to apply, split it into 2. You understand? Apply the first 2 weeks after planting, apply the second one after weeding, probably 4 or 6 weeks after planting. And I want to tell you, you will get a very good yield. But I will still send you some material on that and all of that. So I think I don't know if I have handled your question, or is there any other one?
Yes, I want to ask one more question. Is it good to combine organic and inorganic manure together?
Yes, we do it, especially in our research work. Some of the students we supervise, sometimes we ask them to do one. You will do one organic, one will be controlled. You won't apply any fertilizer there. One, you will use organic fertilizer there, say poultry manure now. The other one, you use both poultry manure and organic fertilizer. You understand?
Yes.
So we will now subject all of them to experiment, and we'll try to find out the effects. Most time it turns out to be good. If depending on the availability of this material, assuming you have both organic and inorganic, you can mix them up at a very good ratios and apply. You still get a good result. But remember, one of the things we are talking about, for instance, somebody who is farming cassava should know that what he needs now is tuber size of that cassava, to have a bigger tuber size. And the thing responsible for that one is potassium that is responsible for that tuber size, not nitrogen now. So any fertilizer you are applying now should have more of potash. You understand now? Than that so-called nitrogen and all of that. So that is the thing. So anything you are mixing, let it be that you are mixing that with respect to what you need, okay? So I'm also seeing Zachary asking us.
Sorry, Doctor, one of my questions you didn't answer it.
Okay, the one on
when applying the fertilizer, what spacing? Because you mentioned that the fertilizer can burn either the seed of this thing or the.
Yes, good. This material I gave to you, you will see some of them. You see, we have broadcasting method, we have placement method, and all of that. Especially when you are growing vegetables, please, especially if you want to use organic manure to grow vegetables, make sure they don't come in contact with the plant. You understand? Make sure they don't come in contact with it. If you must, let it be that you have applied the fertilizer, the organic manure, even before you start planting. The reason is because there's what we call curing. So these organic fertilizers, especially poultry manure or pig dung or poultry dung or pig dung or goat whatever, droppings or whatever, they need to be cured. They need to be cured. Curing means a situation where they will stay and all the heat in it would have evaporated. Microorganisms would have acted on it and the heat content of it would have gone, and will have, it's also a process that is equivalent to mineralization. You understand? So based on that, when it is in that form, that is when it will be friendly with crop. But if you place it at that form that you brought them and they come in contact with your crop, they have heat. There is a heat they will be producing, and when that heat comes in contact with crop, it will burn that crop. So in other words, before it will be made available for that crop to take it, that crop would have died out of the heat. So you need to apply at a time when, even if you apply, you ensure that whether organic or inorganic, make sure you don't come in contact, especially with vegetables. So that is it. So you just do some placement. Of course, if you go through some of these materials, you will see the thing. You understand? Some of the ring placement, band placement, and all of them means around the base of it, but let it not touch the crop.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor. I think we have answered most of the questions, but somebody is asking here, please, can you give us an example of fertilizer that can be used for maize, yam, and beans? I think you have explained it. There's a nitrogen.
I have explained that when I was...
Potassium and nitrogen. Potassium is for tubers, and the yam is a tuber-based. Maize and the beans, we use the other one.
Yes, and let me say, if you notice, I've been a bit silent about beans. You understand?
Okay.
I've been silent about legumes. You understand? Leguminous plant like beans, like call it soya beans and the rest of them. Now, there is and granite. Yes, and granite. The reason is because legumes even add nitrogen to the soil. They fix nitrogen to the soil.
Yeah.
You understand? So you don't need to apply nitrogen fertilizer on it, except on an extreme condition when the soil is too bad that you need to raise the soil to a level where it can sustain the crop. That is when you apply fertilizers there. And if you notice in granite, when you apply fertilizer in granite, they will grow vegetatively, but you will not harvest anything. You understand? So the reason is because fertilizer, granite itself, they add nitrogen to the soil. So when they are adding, plus the one you are adding, there will be excess nitrogen everywhere. That is why when we do crop rotation, after growing your legume, you now bring in cereals, because legumes are shallow feeders and they even add nitrogen to the soil. After growing them, you now plant your deep feeder like maize and yam and the rest. They will now feed on what legume has added to that soil. They will feed on it. So after feeding on it, you harvest them. You now plant legume again to resupply those nutrients that were removed. You understand?
So thank you so much. You are just stimulating my primary disease. Now we do something like a mixed cropping. And
yes.
I would have gone into agriculture. I think I will still go there.
No problem. I'll be there. I'll be there for you. So anytime you want to go into any assistance, professional assistance, so I will be there to assist.
And this is cropping, and then land fallow and the rest of them when you do shifting cultivation.
Yes. But we no longer do shifting cultivation again, because we don't even have enough land again. You understand? So that is the situation. Thank you very much.
They have a lot of land in the north, so.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor, for this wonderful interactive lecture. You did well. Yeah, indeed, a professional. We thank you, and I'm sure our participants have learned a lot. Me, I've learned a lot. Okay, thank you. Let us go over to our sister, Atinuke Lebile. Please, you're most welcome, my beautiful lecturer for the day. Good to see your face.
Good morning, ma. How are you doing, ma? Hope you are feeling much better now.
You have the floor now, ma.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor, for the class. It was actually a wonderful class. I actually learned a lot myself. And thank you for taking my time too.
Sorry about that.
No
Sorry.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here again this morning. Like we talked about yesterday, that our main focus this morning is going to be on value chain. Now, Doctor has actually talked about all you need to know about the cultivation, whatever you're going into, to put out to cultivate, the fertilizer you're going to be using, the best.
Hello, ma. Hello, ma. Please, can you raise your voice? Your audio is a little bit low.
Oh, okay. I'll try that. Yeah. Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Better.
Okay. Let me just start from beginning. So I said now, yesterday I told you that we're going to be talking about the value addition or value chain of whatever crops that we are cultivating, because it is very, very important for you to know the several ways that you can process your crop into, not just the general way that people actually know. And I'm so glad that Doctor have actually addressed your cultivating practices right from the first day, like from the first class. He has told us the best way to plant, the planting spacing, the planting materials, and every other thing. We've also talked about the farm record. We talked about product planning. And so this morning, we'll be talking about value addition, whatever sector we have, people in cassava, people in tomatoes, people in beans. We'll talk about that today. And I did not forget that I promised the people in cassava that I'll be getting you, like what Mrs. Ellen asked me yesterday, the prices of machines that you can use to start your garri processing in small scale. I've actually done that, so I'm definitely going to telling you that at the end of the class. Then for the farm record, I promise. See, I have done the old template. It's just for me to type and send to you. I have actually worked on that. I've worked on that for everybody, so I'll be sending it to you. But I only got email for Mrs. Eileen and Mr. Lukman, so I don't know for others. So those are people I got their email addresses that I'll be sending to. So for the class this morning, we'll be talking about value addition. So let me just share my screen. I have one already made material for value addition. So let me just share my screen. Okay. So this is I'm talking about agricultural value addition. So why are we focusing on agricultural value addition, and why is it important, and what are the several ways several value added product that we can do with our product, like whatever we cultivate. So like you said, like that value addition focuses on production, on manufacturing processes. That is the production and manufacturing process. That's from your cultivation to process. Maybe you're processing, people in Ugochukwu and Mrs. Elena is processing it, cassava, that you're processing either into garri, either into starch, either into lafun, the amala one that Mr. Ugochukwu wants to go into, whether
Hello,
into
ma.
garri. Yes, ma.
Hello, ma. We are not hearing you.
Jesus. Hello, can you all hear me now?
Hello, ma. Your audio is not.
I can hear you. I can hear her.
I don't know if I'm the only person.
I can hear her. I can hear her clearly, loud and clear.
Are we all hearing her?
I can hear you, Atinike Lebila. I can hear you loud and clear. So go ahead. Doctor, maybe there's a problem with your audio. Check. Atinike, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly, ma.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, fine.
So maybe doctor will fix her own.
Okay, so the value addition focuses on production and manufacturing process. So your value addition starts from your cultivation to processing. I will give an example of cassava. To processing, maybe you're processing your cassava into garri, whether into fufu, whether into lafu, whether into cassava flour, like the new invention I told you, whether into custard. So a lot of things that you can do along agricultural value chain in cassava. For the person in tomatoes, now this focuses on whether you want to sell your tomato just like from harvesting and take to the farm, or you want to make into tomato paste, or you want to make into tomato ketchup. And there's actually every business opportunity around tomato paste and tomato ketchup. Why? Let me tell you something. A lot of tomato ketchup that we have in Nigeria at the moment are actually imported. Like 90% of tomato ketchup we have in Nigeria at the moment are actually imported. So it's a very good opportunity for you if you can go into that and see how you can add to your tomatoes. For Zachary, that want to go into beans or soya beans. Now, you can make your soya bean into soya bean flour. For those that want to make soya bean milk, you can make your beans into beans flour. Now, there's what we call peeled beans. Now peeled beans is for those that want to make momo or akara or something. So you already peel these beans and you dry it up and you pack it. So it's actually easy. So the problem of peeling is actually all for your customer. So these are part of things that you can actually go to. Value chain also talks about the marketing or services that increase the value of agricultural products. Like when you're marketing your products or you're offering services like consultancy services around what you do, is actually a value chain of whatever you do. Like if you are now in cassava, like presently now, I told you that I work very well with cassava. But at the moment, like I'm a consultant in my field in cassava. So like the service that I'm offering is the service I'm offering in cassava is the value chain of cassava. So these are this is what agricultural value chain actually means. So why value chain? Why are we talking about value chain? Why do we think value chain is actually important? Now it generates higher returns. How do we mean that it generates higher returns? Now let me give an analysis from cassava perspective. Mrs. Elaine, I will need you to, because you're actually going into cassava, so I will need you to do some calculations for me. Now take your pen. Now let's say you get 1.5 tons of a cassava for, let's say 30,000 naira, and you process 1.5 tons of cassava into, at this moment, let's say into 200 kg of gari. Now at the moment, an average cost of gari is about 250, 300. So if you calculate for 300 naira, 300 times 200, that's 60,000. Now you know that there's a little loss there, because you know I told you now the price of cassava. I don't know how much they sell gari in your area, but in my area is now for 40,000 and 400 naira, which gives about 80,000 naira. Now the difference why we're saying that it's giving a higher return is by the time you cultivate your cassava, you harvest your cassava, and you're selling your cassava at this time. Now it is you are selling 1.5 tons for 30,000 naira. Now if you process it into gari, you are getting 60,000 naira. Have you seen the higher returns that you actually make from that? You sold for 30,000, but because you added value to it, you are selling for 60,000. So you are definitely making money than the farmer that actually cultivated. That is one of the importance of value addition of your value chain. It generates higher income. So you are selling, like you are getting like ×2 of what you would have gained if you actually sell your cassava that way. Because you turn it to gari, now you are making ×2 of your income. Now, another reason why value addition is actually very important is allow penetration of a new potential high value market. Now, what do I mean by this? I'm very sure that Mrs. Elena Nugochukwu and the people that want to go into value chain, or let me use Lukman now that is going into tomato as an example. Now you have tomatoes and you want to make tomato ketchup. You're making your tomato into tomato ketchup. By the time you are doing you already make your tomato ketchup, you package it, and you put your own label. Now it's a penetration for you. It's a new brand for you. You have your own brand identity. You have your own brand loyalty. Like people already know that this is Lukman ketchup. Like I told you, it's a new penetration in Nigeria because we don't have, like 90% of the tomato ketchup that we have in Nigeria at the moment are actually imported. So if you are going to it, so it's a new penetration for you, because a lot of people now are looking at buying made in Nigeria. Now, another reason why value addition is actually very important is extend the production section, or the production season, or the production shelf life of your product. Tomato, let me use tomatoes again. Tomato is one of the fast perishable products that we have. I'm using this crop because that is where some of us are actually going into. That is what we are doing, because we've asked the first day, so that is why I'm using crop around what you are doing at the moment. Tomato is one of the fast crop that actually decompose, like gets spoiled quickly. Now, if you harvest your tomato today, your tomato has started deteriorating from the point of harvesting. But if you actually process your tomato into tomato paste, tomato ketchup, tomato powder, now you've extended the shelf life. Your tomato can now stay for like 6 months, it can stay for 1 year. Yes, if you make a tomato paste very well, you can stay for as high as 1 year. Your tomato powder can stay for 1 year once it's airtight. But look at when you just harvest you harvest your tomatoes, and after a few days, your tomatoes start getting spoiled when you did not sell. So now at this period that you are not able to sell, you can actually process into several value addition and products that can make your product have an extend shelf life. Now, the next thing that we're going into is what are the several value chain that we have around crops. Now, I'll be taking crop, and because that is our area of specialization, what we're talking about today. So the crop I'll be focusing on is I have tuber crops, I have grains, fruit, vegetables, herbs. But now I'll be talking about crops, and my major focus is going to be on cassava, tomatoes, and beans, because this is what you're actually into. So those are the area of concentration this morning. So the value addition actually starts from the cultivation, like I said. And why do I say start from the cultivation? Because the right kind of seed that you get, remember we talked about the first class, the second class, that the right type of seed you get actually goes a long way. It goes a long way in a way that it affects your yield, it affects your production, it affects your processing, because if you did not get a good seedling from the first day, it affects whatever you are processing your crop into. It doesn't affect it. It affects the quality and it affects the quantity. And how do I mean by it affects the quality? The quality starts from the taste, because if you get a bad you get a bad what's it called? A bad beans for Zachary, you get like a bean that's already getting sweated, and by the time you are harvesting, your output is low, and you're processing, like you're not getting a lot of quantity you're supposed to get, and that again amounts to loss for you. So what are the several ways that we can add value to our products? Number one, refrigeration. Now, what do I mean by refrigeration? Now, let me take this to Mr. Lukman, that is going into vegetable, that is going into tomatoes. We talked about cold chain logistics for you, the first class. I remember we talked about that in the first class. That is actually very good for you to transport your tomatoes in a cold chain logistics to wherever you are selling it to, because one, it preserves your tomatoes, it is transported in a confined temperature. Now, it's actually also make your tomatoes attractive to your customers. Now, those are part of adding values. And another aspect of adding values in refrigeration is, after making your product, you can refrigerate and make it stay. Like those people, let me use just chicken that does frozen chicken. The way they're adding value to chicken, to live chicken, is they actually froze it and they're selling frozen chicken and they're getting more money, they're generating more returns for them. Another way you can add value is dehydration. Now, dehydration, the method of dehydration is when you extract the water from your crop, or you extract the water from your fruit, or you extract the water from your vegetables, or you extract water from your beans, and the nutrient is being retained. Now, there's difference between dehydration and oven drying. Now, dehydration, in the method of dehydration, you only extract the water to make it dry and to have it to stay for a longer time, that's to have a long shelf life. But the nutrients is not being reduced in the method of dehydration. But in the method of oven drying, the nutrients are actually being broken down already. So there are not so much nutrients in oven drying and like dehydration. So in food processing, we always recommend that if you're going to be drying, use the method of dehydration. Dehydration is actually very good around fruits and vegetables. It's actually very, very good around food and vegetables and grains like beans. So for Mr. Lukman, that is going to tomatoes, that is going to vegetables, that is going to pepper and all those things, you can use a method of dehydration for your product, to make it into tomato powder, to make it into pepper powder, to make your vegetables like go into dried form, to make your okra into dry okra that people can have for a long period of time. It is very, very hygienic, and it is very, very good because the nutrient is still retained. You are not over drying, you are not sun drying. It is very, very healthy because we all want to eat healthy. So the method of dehydration is actually very important for you. And this is actually we use a dehydrator machine. So you can actually get a dehydrator machine, although most dehydrator machines are actually imported. Yeah, they're actually imported, but there's different sizes that you can actually start with, and they're not quite very expensive. Another method of adding value is canning. Now, what do I mean by canning? Like putting the can, just like you have your your sweet corn in a can, your green beans in a can, your tomato paste in a can, like that. So those are methods of canning, and these are methods where you can preserve your product. Another one is processing. Now, this processing actually goes as a varies a long way. Like you are processing into several things, like your gari, like what we mentioned, your fufu, just like what we mentioned earlier on. Then waxing. Waxing is one of the methods that mostly it's not really used in Nigeria, but almost outside the country. And what do we mean by waxing? When you get, if you have chance of traveling outside the country, or when you even see okay, fine, ShopRite. Let me use ShopRite as an example. Yes, we have waxing ShopRite. Most times you see those oranges shiny, you see your apple shining, you see those fruit that are shining that looks as if they are not getting spoiled. They use a method of waxing at the back of those fruits so that it doesn't get spoiled on time and it can be very, very attractive to you. Those are methods that they use for those fruits. But once it stays for some time, it actually start getting spoiled, but at least it will actually extend the shelf life. It's a method of waxing. Then another method of adding value is packaging. In Nigeria as a whole, at the moment, we eat the package of a product before we start considering what is inside the product. If you package your product very well, like if you have gari and you package your gari very well, you can actually sell more than those people in the market, like the open market. If you package your beans, that's for Mr. Zachary, your beans very well, you after harvesting your beans, you pick your beans like you picked it, there is no death, and you package it in a very nice customized nylon, you will sell at a premium price than the one that is being sold in the open market. Those are different ways that you can add value to your product. And let me tell you one secret about adding value to your product. Adding value to your product helps you to generate more income into your purse. And you know what we talked about yesterday, assets and liabilities. Assets gives you money, liabilities cost you money. And all you need as a business person is an asset that will give you money, that will bring money to your pocket. And you know that you're actually attending the class because of the loan you actually want to get, and you want to look for several ways to bring money. So adding value is actually a very, very good way to add value, and to adding value is actually a good way to get more money into your purse. Now, this is cassava as a case study for roots. Now, if you look at the cassava, you have several things that you can do on that cassava. You can have cassava chips. Now, this cassava chips varies into two ways. Cassava chips for pharmaceuticals and for cassava chips for animal feed. Now, what are cassava chips for pharmaceuticals? This is a process where you already peel your cassava, and you cut your cassava into small bits and you dry. Now, the method of drying that you use here is the cabinet dryer. You dry and you export. Now, let me tell you one secret. China have been asking for about 13,000 tons of cassava chips from Nigeria every year. And as big as Nigeria is, that we are one of the highest producer of cassava, we've not been able to supply China for once. Why? Because 80% of what we consume in Nigeria goes to food, and 75% of that 80% is gari, and that is why gari is everywhere. It doesn't need advertisement. So it's an opportunity for you if you can make cassava chips for those that want to go into cassava, Mrs. Ellen and Mr. Guchiko. It is actually very, very, it is very, very good because it opens you to export market. Now, another thing you can also go into is the cassava chips for animal feed. Now, there will be a lot of demand for animal feed, yes, from cassava. That's from cassava peels. Now, because of the ban in maize, of the ban importation of maize at the moment, government already banned the importation of maize. So there will be a lot of pressure on the cassava industry to have cassava as a source of energy, as a source of carbohydrate for animal feed. So your cassava peels are not going to waste if you're processing. All you need to do is wash your cassava peels, dry them, and sell to people that are into animal feed. Sell to people that has farms, pig farms, cow farms, you know, and you sell to them. So that's another way of generating income. Like, it's an extra way of generating income for you. Another thing you can make your cassava into is cassava flour. Now, this cassava flour is also into two ways: cassava flour for your amala, that's falafel, and cassava flour for confectionaries. Now, cassava flour for confectionaries is what the biscuit company uses. Some of the biscuits we eat are made from cassava flour. But these are some of the things that will not be open to us, because by the time you look at those biscuits, all you see is flour. But it is not specified that maybe it's cassava flour, maybe it's wheat flour. But most of them are cassava flour. Most of them are cornstarch. Most of them are wheat flour. But we have industries that take cassava flour. Indomie, like people, Indomie companies take cassava flour for processing. So if you can make into cassava flour, it's also very good. Although the investment into cassava flour might be very expensive because of the flash dryer. But like what I told you yesterday, that you can start from contract manufacturing by locating a factory that already has flash dryer, and that you can sign a contract with them that you bring in your cassava and they'll process for you at a cost and you supply. Now, cassava flour for lafu is for amala. A lot of people eat the lafu as amala, and you know that you make more money from lafu than you make from selling just your cassava off. So that's another way of adding value to your cassava. We have cassava starch. Miss Selin says she wants to go into cassava starch. Now, cassava starch is also used by all these industries. It's used by pharmaceutical industries. Now, let me tell you one secret. Cassava is also used by pharmaceutical industries. Our paracetamol is cassava. Don't be deceived. Cassava is part of what is used to make our paracetamol. Yes, our Heineken drinks, Heineken beer, it is cassava. It is made from fermented cassava. Now, for Nigerian breweries, use cassava starch a lot to make their drinks. So if you can go into cassava starch, second way of also adding value to your cassava. So these things are what you can do, and we have our popular gari. I don't need to talk more about gari. We all know that we can make our cassava into gari. We have fufu. That's fufu powder. You can make your fufu into fufu mash. You can make your fufu into fufu powder. We know that a lot of people now don't like eating fufu because of the odor. But you know that the processing of fufu is what determines the odor. You can have fufu that is odorless if you have a good processing method. Like if you process your processing is actually top notch, your fufu is going to be odorless. It's not like there's a special way of removing the odor. No, the old odor in fufu is your processing method. So you can have fufu that is odorless, that people that love fufu but don't like eating because of odor can actually buy from you. And like the new invention, if you look at the picture on beside the cassava, you have some products there. These are part of our products anyways. But we have one in the carton, like with a sachet, that is custard. Like I told you in the first part, that you have custard now from cassava, but you can only use the vitamin A yellow cassava for it. So it's a new invention. At the moment, we are like the first producer of cassava custard in Africa that is being commercialized at the moment. So it's a new invention that you can actually bring on board. You can make your cassava flour into chips, into snack, just like what you're saying. So a lot of things that you can do around cassava for those in cassava value chain. For those in cassava value chain. So you see that nothing is being wasted, even from your peel to everything, nothing is being wasted. Another way you can make money from cassava is your stem. Now, cassava stem that you plant is now money. People are looking for cassava stem because this year people are looking for cassava stem because people did not plant so much last year. So there is scarcity of cassava this year, and people are looking for stem to replant because there's increase in the price of cassava this year. So you see, a lot of things that you can do for yourself around cassava. Do you know that you can make your cassava leaf? Now, this is another secret I'm giving, like an additional secret for you now. You can make your cassava leaf, the vitamin cassava leaf, into cassava tea. You know, that's the one that is not mature. It's an antioxidant for pregnant women. Yes, and it's very, very rich in vitamin A. You can make it, but people don't know. All these things just goes to waste. You can use your cassava leaf to cook soup. You know, we need to understand all the things that we can do around the crop or the vegetables that we want to go into. It's not just for us to just plant and just go and sell, just like every other person. And this is what makes us a business people. This is what makes us an entrepreneur. And if we don't think outside the box. Now, for Mr. Lukman that is into tomatoes, like I said, you can make your tomatoes into tomato ketchup. These are things that are not quite, like the processing are not quite, they're not rigorous. That's something you can start in your kitchen, even you can afford the machine to make your tomato ketchup. The thing you can start in your kitchen. Your tomato paste is what you can start in your kitchen. Let me see, I think I have a slide for tomatoes. Okay. So this is a slide for tomatoes. You can see vegetable tomatoes. I actually picked tomatoes because it's one of the vegetables that spoils quickly. Now you can see those rotten tomatoes. You can see that picture of those tomatoes that actually are annoyed. They are annoyed because they are not happy being in the state of where you make them get spoiled. They are telling you that you add value to them. That's why they develop those things and they're annoyed and they're telling you add value to us. So you can see that adding value to your tomatoes and making tomato paste does not necessarily have to be in the normal sachet of tomato paste that we know, like the tomato, like Dangote tomato or Gino tomatoes and all that. You can see that this bottle is actually tomato paste that is made by Nigeria here. I would send the link to you that you can see what she's actually doing around tomatoes. She's making that into paste that can last for a year. She's making it into paste that can last for a year in your homes, even without refrigerating. So a lot of things that you can do around your tomatoes. You can make your tomato into tomato powder. I know this is actually something that a lot of people are actually surprised about. Tomato powder. Yes, it is possible. It's like if you make a tomato into tomato powder by using a dehydrator, you only need a little quantity to make your soup. Your pepper too, you can make your pepper into that paste form. You can make your pepper into powder. We all know pepper powder, like the normal atagugu that we all know in the market. Your okra, you make it into dry form. Your cabbage, like those people that are going into vegetables, Miss Sally also want to go into vegetables. If you're making your cabbage, you can have your cabbage into cabbage flour. Now a lot of people want to eat swallow like swallow like amala that does not contain starch. Now we have cabbage flour, we have carrot flour that people make into amala. Yes, that they eat because it contains no starch. So those are the things that you can do. You have your onions. You can have onions powder. A lot of people don't like seeing onions in their food, but you can have an alternative for them to have onion powder in their meal. So a lot of things that we can do. We don't necessarily just go and cultivate and just sell. Add value to make more money. Add value so that you can be able to pay back your loan. Now, I give an example of fruit also in this slide that you are looking at. Fruit, I use pineapple. You can turn your pineapple into pineapple chips, just like nuts. You don't need to fry. It's not like you are frying. You're using your dehydrator just to dry. Nothing is being added. It is natural. It's just for you to dry your cut into pieces and dry in a dehydrator, and you have your pineapple snacks or pineapple chips. So you can have your whole pineapple in your handbag and snack on your healthy snack. So a lot of things that you can do for yourself around what you do. Like I told Mr. Sakara, you can have your peeled beans. Like that's actually a good innovation for me, because a lot of people are even scared of buying beans flour now, because they said some people miss a lot of things with that beans flour. But you can peel your beans so that they can know that your bean is peeled. It is original beans. It's not like flour is being added. They will peel those beans, they will peel it and they will dry it and they will sell back to you. So all your customer needs to do is put the already dried peeled beans in water, soak it for like 30 minutes and let it get soft, and you blend, and they have their normal taste of beans flour by making it to moi moi or making it to akara. So these are things you can do. You can also do it with beans flour. You have soya beans. You want to make soya beans, you can make your soya beans into soya beans flour. So it will be easy for those people that want to make soya milk. It's great for those people that make baby food to have a combination of having it in baby food. So a lot of things that you can do around what you are cultivating. The next thing, okay, let me just go and okay. Now, in adding value to your product, some of the things that are actually very important that customers look like and they purchase is packaging. Like I said in the beginning, we eat, like in Nigeria, we eat our package. We eat our package before we start eating what is inside. If you have your product that is you've actually processed into various other products and you package it very well and your package is actually very, very attractive, then people will buy. And like because of that package, people will buy. Nigerians eat packaging. Like we eat package before we start knowing what is inside. So people will buy. Convenience. Customers want what is actually convenient for them, like what is actually easy for them to just make. Everybody, our time is actually being occupied. Like you woke up this morning, we started class by 7 a.m. You know, if you have something actually very easy to make, like you do quickly, like if you have a tomato paste, or you just need to add tomato and put in your oil and just make your tomato, your stew within few minutes, and you are good to go. You know, than just washing tomatoes, you are blending it, you know, that kind of thing. But you already have like a tomato powder they can just mix in water. You have a tomato powder you can just mix in water and add to your oil, and you have your soup. Or you already have your beans flour. So be thinking, I'm actually saying it because I want us to be thinking outside the box of several things that we can do with our product, or several things we can do with our products that we want to cultivate. It is good to add value. It is good. That is what makes us stand out. Now, healthy and nutritious. Whatever you're bringing out to people, whatever you're going to be packaging, whatever value chain you're going to be, whatever value you're going to be adding to your crops, has to be healthy. We all want to eat healthy. I want to eat healthy. You want to eat healthy. Everybody's being healthy conscious now. It has to be healthy. It has to be natural. It has to be organic. So we have to look for ways that we can make this thing organic that doesn't contain chemical. We've already eaten a lot of chemical in our life cycle. At this stage, we don't want to eat chemicals again. So as a business person, as an entrepreneur, that you know that people are now healthy conscious, make sure that whatever you are adding whatever value you are adding to your product is actually healthy and very, very nutritious. Another thing that people are looking for is quantity. Do not say because you're not adding value, you want to reduce the quantity. Let people get value for their money. Like that's the next one. Let people get value for their money. Affordability and accessibility. So if you're adding value to this and you're actually advocating, or you're actually telling people about your product, you're actually marketing your product, please make it affordable. And by the time you're making your product, make it accessible that people can have access to it, especially people at the bottom of the pyramid. Why are people at the bottom of the pyramid? People in rural areas. You know, it is very good. I actually did a market survey last week on some products, and I realized that a lot of people are going for small SKUs, like what I'm like small sachet. Now, if you look at, let's use Cowbell company, Cowbell Milk as an example. You know, before Cowbell came into the market, we have this Cowbell refill, we have Pick Milk in this refill pack. In Cowbell is the first company in the milk industry, like to make sachet, because they feel that a lot of people want to take milk, but they cannot afford the can, they cannot afford the refill. So they now have that sachet, like that small SKU, that's what we call SKU, for people in rural areas. So if you can make your product have a smaller size that can go fast, because those smaller sachets actually sell fast than a big pack. So if you can make it affordable and accessible in rural areas, you will definitely go far in selling your product. So for you to play in the agricultural value chain, the first thing you need to do is to think outside the box. I said it when I was starting this class. Think what other people are not thinking. Think innovation. Like think innovation. what is that thing? What is that thing again I can do to my product? Like I said, we are the first company to make cassava custard. Like, I know you're going to be very surprised. How is that possible? It is possible. It has been done, that is tested. We have customers, people buying. I've also even have it in several flavors: strawberry, vanilla, banana, to compete with already made market. So think outside the box. Think, what else can I do with my product? What else do I think product is actually, my crop is actually good for? You have to do research. Don't just sit. Do research. Don't be like just the normal village, our grandfather, that they just plant and they just sell. Add the value. You have to be innovative. You have to be rugged, because in the industry that you're coming to play, in the value chain industry, there are already existing people that are making some of the things that you want to make. So you have to be rugged to sell your product. You have to go evident to sell your product. You have to move shyness to sell those things. Now, accept criticism. By the time you make your product, definitely a lot of people will criticize you. Oh, this is not good. This is too dry. This is not too dry. Do that kind of thing. Accept that, because you are trying to make that. You are trying that to actually bring a change, or to try to see how you can make your products better. Now, let me tell you one of the things that I do. Anytime I go out and I see a product that is similar to mine, I buy them. Like, I buy my competitor's product. Let me tell you, I buy them and I bring them to the house and I analyze. Okay, how is this product better than mine? How is mine better than this product? I don't just buy one because I know I'm going to keep one. I'll keep one on my shelf to know how long this product will stay and how long my product stays. And if the product stays longer than my product, I look at, okay, how can I better my own product to stay longer also? So those are the things you should do. Don't just sit and say, I have produced, and you're now vexed at your competitors. Don't be vexed at them. They're also trying to make better. So buy their product and see what they're doing best before you also go out to the market. Adapt to change. A lot of innovations comes out every day along agricultural value chain. So be ready to add things to your beans. Like if you're making beans flour, some people like their beans flour to have. I have a friend that does beans flour and she has pepper in the beans flour already. She has powdered onion. She has crayfish like in the beans already. All you need to do is just add water and start making your beans into akara or your moi moi, or your gbegiri soup. Those things are actually being made because she already meets the customer demand. Because everything they need to buy, crayfish, pepper, onion, is already in one pack. There's a lot of innovations that we can do around what we are doing. We need to bring innovation. Like, it is very, very important for us to bring innovation around what we do. So now, that is all about the value chain. I actually streamlined it down to what we want to do for cassava, for vegetables, and for Mr. Zachary that want to do beans. And that is why I've been able to open you up to some of the things you can do around it. So if you have any questions around the value chain of what else you can do with your product, you can now ask before I move to the assignment you gave me yesterday. Thank you. So if you have any question, you can ask because of our time.
Thank you very much for the wonderful lecture. Though the audio is not so good from my own end, I don't know if it is the same for others, but from what I heard
here, they told me they can hear me.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, ma.
Okay.
The audio has been good from my end.
Okay, that's very fine. That is all that matters. Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. You did wonderfully well. I learned a lot. In short, I will just say, wow, even the cassava. I never knew that you can do all those wonderful things with the cassava.
In fact, at the moment, we have about 25 products from cassava.
Wow. Yeah. I beg, I'm pleading, you will send me your own slide. I will give you my email because I'm always good. I like learning a lot. So please.
No problem, ma'am.
And even the leaves of cassava. I never knew. I am just all eyes. So thank you for the wonderful lecture with other things, even the canning and the rest of them. Somebody was asking a question. Somebody asked a question about, I didn't understand, but I can't see it again because my screen went off. I think one of the participants, yes, one of the participants was asking questions about canning and the other things, and they mentioned something about chemical. Can you please answer that question, please?
Okay. Now, Mr. Zachary, for the method, you say you don't really understand what you mean by dehydration. Now, the dehydration is what is extraction of water from your produce, and the nutrients of your produce is not being broken down. Now, there's difference between dehydrating, and sun drying and oven drying. In dehydration, we have a machine called dehydrating machine. It's called a dehydrator. So what a dehydrator does is, a dehydrator only extracts the water. You can use the dehydrator to do your beans. You can use it to do your vegetables. You can use it to do your tomatoes, everything around fruit and vegetables, and also your beans, your grains. All what the dehydrator use to extract the water, but the quality of your crop is retained. So this is what makes it unique than using oven drying or using sun drying. Now, for refrigeration is you put your crop in a freezer or you put it in a cold chain. If you are into, I used an example of chicken as an example. For people that does frozen chicken, what they do is the method of refrigeration. They kill the live chicken and they put in the freezer, so they refrigerated. And also use tomatoes. For people that want to, for Mr. Lokman, that want to transport tomatoes, maybe you want to transfer your tomatoes to Lagos or to every other part of the country. If you use a cold chain logistic, now it's a van, it's a vehicle that has a confined temperature that will make your tomatoes fresh. It won't get spoiled like the normal way that people transport in a truck on inside sun, on inside rain, and by the time it gets to Lagos, to get to the market, the tomatoes already they've spoiled. The market value is already reduced. So you can use the method of cold chain. If you use the method of cold chain, it's actually it gets the market fresh, and people even want to buy your tomatoes and all that. So that's for refrigeration. Now for waxing, if you look at you know that you get to ShopRite. If you look at apple, that's why some people will tell you that please remove, maybe you first use blade to remove something at the back of apple. What is being used on them is wax. Although they are edible wax, they are not poisonous wax. They are edible wax. Now, these wax are put at the back of your fruit. It's mostly used for fruit to make it stay for a longer time. To make it stay for a longer time. This is a method of waxing. Now, for canning method is, I use your sweet corn, I use your beans, what's it called? What do we use this? Sweet corn. Let me use sweet corn as an example. If you buy a sweet corn in a can that you want to use for your fried rice or you want to use to cook or something, you realize that it's just a boiled corn that is being put in salt, water, and sugar just to preserve it for some time. That's the method of canning. You get, and the most beautiful thing is for you that you're doing for Mr. Zachary that asked the question that you're doing beans. You can actually make your beans natural, without chemical. Preserve your beans without chemical. You know, a lot of beans that we have in the market now, by the time you open it, you still want tablets inside that are using to preserve the beans, so that the bean does not have insect and all that. But people want to eat healthy. How do you preserve your beans to add value to your beans? Now, for market value, there's something we call PICS bag, PICS bag. Now, it's you have a sack, a very, very thick waterproof sack. Now, in that sack, you have a nylon. Now, it's a thick nylon. You can get PICS bag. People sell PICS bags in IITA and all this research institute, they sell PICS bag. So we have this nylon, they are very thick, and there are two in the bags. And all you need to do is to add your grains. You can add your beans, you can add your soya beans, you can add your maize inside this big bag. All you need to do is, by the time you are tying, you have to tie all the nylons before you tie the sack. But make sure that hair did not get into those bags. If hair get into it, there's every probability that they will definitely have insects. But by the time you tie them without the hair, I'm telling you, you preserve your beans without the use of chemical. So by the time you also want to do your peel beans and also dry, you can, by the time you dry it very well, you can preserve your beans. So those are different methods that actually explain. So Mr. Gochuku was raising his hand. Please ask your question, Mr. Gochuku.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Please, Gochuku, your question.
Good morning, madam. Thank you for the lecture. Interesting and educating. My question is this: you talked, you talked so much about a lot of things we can do with the cassava thing. A lot of innovation, a lot of product that can actually come from cassava. But for some of us that are just coming into this line of business. Not forgetting that I didn't grow up in the farm. I learned cassava. I get to know about the cassava thing, the cassava planting, and the whole thing from the little time I go for holiday to see my grandmom. And that's what I learned about cassava. And the one that I read in the book, and they taught us in agricultural science in the JSS and SS class. Now we understand that the only thing we understand then was plant cassava, turn it to gari. That's all. Now coming to this class now, you've already opened my head, my eye to too many things that can come from cassava that I didn't know. I never thought about them before, because the only idea I had before when I started planting cassava was just to plant cassava, turn to gari, then sell it. Yeah, that's to me it was not like a fun, but then coming to this class has showed me a lot. For all that are coming, all these products that you mentioned, not forgetting that finance is key into this beautiful product that can actually come from cassava. Looking at what we have at hand, yeah, we are going to apply for a loan that we don't know if we will get or not, or if we will get. But then, if we get the loan, good. If we don't get the loan, good. Some of us will still carry on with what we had in mind before. But I'm looking at what we have in hand. How can we key into this beautiful product? Where do we source for them? The people that are doing them, how do we partner? How do we come into producing these things from our cassava that we are planting? So that's my question.
Okay. Thank you. That's a very
beautiful one. That's a beautiful one. Thank you.
Okay, so that's a very, very good and thoughtful question. Now, let me tell you a little bit about how we started in cattle foods. We did not just start to produce those things at once. In fact, when we started, we don't have factory at all when we started. But because we already have this vision of what we actually wanted to do, so what we did was to go to people that we know that are actually doing this product, gari, fufu, and all that. And we went to them and we said, okay, fine. We want to sell for you. Now, we are selling because we told them we're selling because we want to use that to have our target, to know our target market, and to know the people we'll be focusing, and to have our market, our own market segments. So sometimes we buy these things without being packed, without their own brand, and we repackage in our own name and we sell. Or because we want to have our own ready-made market. I'm saying this because of, besides the finances and all that. So you can actually start that small. So along the line, then when you know that the money has started coming, already you have your own market that you know you can now compete, then you can now start investing into maybe a smaller unit of factory. Now, when we started, we did not start the whole big factory that I showed you yesterday. We did not start immediately. We started in a small scale also. That the only thing we were doing there was just gari and fufu. When we started making the flour and the custard, we did what is called contract manufacturing, like I explained to you yesterday. We actually located a factory in our location that would take our cassava to process into flour for us, or to process into custard, because we did not have the flash dryer before God now helped us, and we now have everything ourselves that we produce ourselves. So in the area of finances, you don't have to start everything. If it's just one niche, take a particular niche. Like I know you talked about Gary and laughing when you joined this class, that is your area of focus. Take that niche and start with it. Don't start everything at once. Take that niche. I used to say something like, in whatever niche you have, be a principality and power. So that when they wake you up from your dream, there is nothing in that aspect that you cannot answer. Dominate that before you now move to something else. So if you want to start, you can actually partner with people that are already processing. I do cassava a lot, like 80% of what I do. And I do trainings and I do consultancy. And please, like I told you in the first class, don't just sit down in your comfort zone or what you read online. Go out and learn from people that are already practicing. Go and do IT. Because some of the things are online, some of them are actually theory most times. They won't tell you some of the challenges that you will face. They will make it look so beautiful to you. So make gari, we all feel this easy. Maybe it's to fry gari and all that. But there is a lot of competition around gari now that you want to make your own gari stand out. How do you make your gari that there will not be a small burnt in your gari? How do you make your gari that there will not be a lot of fiber? So you have to go out and learn. So, and don't just start at once. Yes, a lot of beautiful products you can do, but take a niche, start with that niche, learn about that niche, understand that niche, start with it. If you don't have the money to buy the machine, you can start partnering with people are already processing and you sell for them. You can get in a box and you package your own name and you sell. By the time you start understanding your market, and then you can now start investing into machines. And if you don't get the loan also, you can make the local processor of gari in your areas and give them your specification. This is the way I want my gari to look like. Can you do it for me? And if they agree that they can make it for you, then fine. You can start from there. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
What? I don't know how to pronounce that name. I hope I got it. I don't actually. The other one is what? Lebile.
Yes.
Beautiful Lebile. Thank you so much for the wonderful lecture and the well-articulated answers too.
Thank you, ma'am.
The participants, I hope all of us have learned a lot.
I think
Me,
Mrs.
I
Eileen
have
is raising
learned
up her hand.
Okay, somebody else. Okay, you have the floor now. Ask your question, please. Ask your question.
Hello.
Yeah, Miss Celine, can hear you.
Ms. Atineke, thank you so much for the wonderful lecture. My question is, the dehydration, is it only for vegetables? Can it be used for other things? Maybe like to dry fish, like have a dry, like the way you have dry fish, catfish, you turn it into dry fish. Can you use it for the dry fish or chicken or something like that? Is it only for vegetables?
It's actually only for your vegetables, your fruits, and some grains like your beans. But it's basically for vegetables and fruits. Yes, you cannot use it for your dry fish. For your fish and your chicken, it's better use a smoking plane. There's something we call a smoking cane that you can use. If you get a fabricator, they can actually do a small scale smoking cane for you to do your fish, but you cannot do the dehydrator to do your fish.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, is there any other question in the house? Any other question for our lecturer?
Yeah, hello.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Wait, is that Lawal?
Yeah, this
Okay,
is Lawal. Okay.
To see your face, every other person is hiding. You see, look at Lawal now. So I'm happy I'm not dealing with a robot.
At all. Yeah, okay. Thanks very much, everyone. Thanks, Tinike, for the presentation. It's been a very good one. In terms of, I mean, you know, I think I've been in this space for a while, and I've been kind of experimenting and, you know, learning from one space to the other. But the primary focus is vegetables, tomatoes, and some other vegetables for now. So now, if you look at, I just have a question on this, you know, processing. So if you look at when people are entering this business due to cash constraints and also the fact that they want to stabilize on one aspect of the value chain before moving to the next, they tend to focus on primary production, right? Then once they are able to achieve a certain mass, then they start looking at how to add value to what they produce. So one thing is, I mean, I tried that out in the catfish, you know, produced for a while. I started outsourcing the processing. But one of the issues with this is the margin becomes very low, right? The profitability is very thin because now you're paying someone to process it, package it, then you now sell. So you're entering a market that is very competitive. So what kind of advice do you have for starters? Because, you know, in that period, you'll be bleeding a lot of cash. So one, the people you're selling to do not pay right away. It could take up to 30 days. Some could keep it till the finish selling before you get your money. So what advice do you have for at least ensuring profitability while evolving through this processing phase? Maybe initially outsourcing it and later on starting small with your own processing equipment. That's one question. Advice on how you can keep it profitable. The second question is the regulation side of it. Most supermarkets do not stock your product if you don't have that number. So if you are outsourcing, NAFDAC will not approve your products because they ask for I didn't get to that stage, but I learned the request to see your processing facility or your factory. So what can you advise on those two areas? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me start from the last question for the certification. Now, if you are actually if you're outsourcing your production to a factory that already have their own NAFDAC number, NAFDAC will give you, like they will give you your number. Why? Because all they need from you is just to get like an agreement contract, like this contract agreement from that factory that they are producing for you. And NAFDAC will tell you that you should put on your label that is produced by that company, but packaged by you. That is what NAFDAC will tell you. Make sure that you want to get a NAFDAC number for your product and you're doing contract manufacturing. Get a process center that already obtained their own NAFDAC number. Get this contract agreements and that both of you signed. NAFDAC have a template for that. You can go to the office, they will have a template for that. And by the time you do that, you submit, but they will tell you produced by this, packaged by this company. You don't need to put the phone number of the company that produced for you. It's only your number that you need. So that is for that. And for selling and the profit margin, for people that are just starting, I always advise, do not tie down your money with supermarkets that will give you your money after 30 days. If you're just starting, why are you tying down your cash? Go out there, push yourself. If it's for you to dance, to sell, dance. And I always tell startup that a social media platform is a very good place to sell. Start advertise your product on your social media. Let people around you know what you sell. And by the time you're advertising this, people buy from you first time, second time, third time. And they are giving you good reviews. They will definitely come back to you. Do not tie down your money with supermarkets. The only thing that will make you take your product to supermarket as a startup is you already have your NAFDAC number, and you know that you have a good product, you already get review from people, and you know that by the time your product gets to supermarket, they will sell. And please, by the time you get to supermarket, don't just sit down in your comfort zone and say, my product's already in ShopRite, so I'm a big boy. No, you go out and tell people my product's in ShopRite in so-so location, so that people that are in that location that cannot spend money on deliveries can go there, or by the time they ask you that, okay, I live in Kaduna, how do I get to put? Oh, okay, there is this mall, there is a hard mall in Kaduna, there's also address that you can get it from. Don't just sit down and say you want to make all the money. And one thing about startup again is we all want to make the whole money, the whole profit. If it's for you to just get small profit on that, and you are selling value is what matters in business. That is why I so much love Igbo people. They know how to do business. They don't care if they're not making much, but for them to sell value, by the time you have volume, by the time they sell volume, they know that the bits they're getting on that, they can use to restock. But we don't start up. We want to eat all the profit at once. No, volume is what should matter to you. So much people that get your product is what should matter to you. And if you're doing a contract manufacturing also in the area of profit, it's something that you can sit down with the contract manufacturer and analyze, okay, this is how much you got, this is how much you're getting your fish from. This is how much is being sold in the market. Okay, can we meet at the point where it's going to be a win-win for both of us? Because sometimes most of these people, they just process and they just charge you from their own discretion, and they feel you have money, that's why you're coming to process. And then your source of raw materials also goes a long way in your profit determination. Source your raw materials from where you could get very cheap raw materials. So those are the things that can help us.
Wow, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Participants, you can agree with me. You thoroughly enjoy this wonderful 3 hours from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Has been a wonderful. So can I see everybody's face so that I'll know that I'm not going over?
Show them your face.
Please, can I ask one more question?
Is that Helen?
Yes.
Okay, Helen, I would like to see your face now.
Okay. Okay, I'm about to do that.
All right. That's your question, okay? Any other person can ask this because we are rounding up.
Okay. My question is this to Dr. Sunday. I want to ask.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to ask about planting season you spoke about the other day. Hello, can you hear me?
I'm hearing you, I'm there.
Okay. You spoke about planting season the other day. I was about to plant watermelon one time this year. So someone told me that the season has gone, that if I plant it that period, that I might not be able to get a good yield. Okay. Because it's not yet the time that the leaf will be good, that it will just be giving me leaves, but the yield, the fruit will not be there. So I was then asking the person, but this watermelon is always available throughout the year, as in there's no time you go to market. So how do people that plant plant it throughout the year?
Okay. I think that's the question, right?
Yes,
let me also let you know that it's also possible that the person who advised you may not really be a professional. And another issue is that most of the farming we do in the south, they are rain-fed farming. You are waiting for rain to provide moisture for you. But most of the farming that takes place in the north, question of why do we have this crop available all year round? So because there is irrigation facility, people keep producing. So there is always a crop. So with respect to planting season, every crop have their own season. You understand? Which you need to get from a professional or from some good textbooks and all of that to know that, especially we in the tropics, southern Nigeria, because of the onset of rains. Now, something like melon does not require so much rainfall. If you plant melon when excessive rain meets it, you may not. In fact, even before fruiting, if there is excessive rain and the rest of them, there will be trouble. Anything melon, whether sweet melon or whether whichever kind of melon and the rest, all these crops that creep on the surface of the soil, they need a lot of sunlight because they use photosynthesis a lot, you understand, to be able to produce. So based on that, you may plant them at the onset of rain before rain becomes excess, you understand. By the time we be getting to the point of excessive rain, you're already at maturity, you're already talking about harvest. But when they are growing up, they need photosynthesis to do well. So when the weather is always dull, they won't perform. So that is the issue. So maybe because of our time, subsequently any issue on that or any area you are not clear, you can still get across to me.
But Doctor, sorry, Doctor, how do those people that produce throughout the year do theirs?
I talked about irrigation farming. So because of the irrigation now, they always have a conducive environment. They always have moisture. Because whether out of the 6 growing factors or 6 growth factors that are needed for crops to do well, rainfall alone, moisture alone can make the other 5 not to work. So when other factors like sunlight, like nutrients, like good soil, like good terrain, and all of that, when all of them are available and there's no moisture, that other 5, they are useless. So moisture is very, very important, is key. And because of that, in the north, most farmers use irrigated farming. You understand? And that is another thing you need to do. You don't need to have so much money to do irrigation. You can just put water in your bucket, do fabrication on it, put a hose under it, and pass it through your field, create small drip irrigation to be dropping water small at the base of your crops, and they will utilize it for growth, especially at the off season of that plant towards dry season and the rest of them. They will use it and do well. So that is the answer to that.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much for everybody, both the participants and our lecturers for the day. It's a mind-blowing experience for me, and I'm just wishing that I was there for these 2 days that I missed. Anyway, I know I will not miss because all the slides will come to me and I will read them on my own. I also want to plead with you, our participants, please, they will take your contact because I know they will still have questions for you. Always be there for them, please. On this note, we are supposed to stop by 10 and now it's 9 minutes after 10. So yes, we have to now close. Any other question, we will still off the scene, you will still continue to ask them questions. But if you still have any question, please go ahead. Helen, you seem to be loaded with questions. I like that. Go ahead. Helen, you have questions?
Yes, I want to know, after this session, are we going to the general sector, or we are closing for the day?
No, you can still join any other one you want to join. Okay, but
No, like yesterday, we had general session before coming to this one. So
yes, I think there's a general session by 10 today.
Yes.
After this. So
Okay,
after this, there might be a general session for you.
Okay, on Tuesday, I could not mark my register. I don't know. I forgot, and I was here throughout that Tuesday. So it was looking like I did not attend. I don't really know what to do about it.
Okay, we have the technical staff. I will get back to you on that. It's not I'm not well versed on how they mark, but we have our technical staff. Okay. When you go to the general class now, you ask them that question, they will direct you on how to go and mark your attendance. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I also think there is some things that Ms. Labely wanted to share with them with respect to question they asked her yesterday.
Yes.
I don't know what, because of our time. So maybe briefly, let her handle that before we...
Let her handle it. Let her go ahead. Please share your experience, share your questions, share the knowledge, please.
Okay, thank you very much. So I was asked a question around the amounts they could get some basic equipment to start a small scale dairy factory that at least can meet up with NAFDAC certification. So the stainless fry I was talking about yesterday, the manual one, you can get one for like 300,000 naira. Now this stainless still comes with a chimney. What I call chimney is by the time you're frying, the smoke goes to the chimney to the sky. So it's not like the smoke is actually affecting your the gari. So that's about 300,000 naira. Your manual hydraulic press, like the manual one that you have to use jack, the jack used for your car, like those hydraulic jack. So the manual press that can do about 250 kg of cake at once also goes for about 300,000 naira. For your grater, the grater to grate your cassava, is, you know, they don't like there is manual, so it's electricity. Now, so you have 3 tons of grater per hour, and we can also have 1 ton of grating, 1 ton of cassava grating per hour. So for the 3 tons of cassava grating per hour, is 650,000. But if you want for 1.5 hours, 1.5 tons of cassava, is 350,000 naira. Now for your jack, like the hydraulic jack used for your the jack now used for your press, for your manual press, is 10,000 naira. Then your sifter that used to sieve your gari after frying is 200,000 naira. So those are the small scale amounts of machines that you can buy to start your dairy processing in a small scale, and we meet standard NAFDAC standard. Thank you.
What of the pillar?
Okay. When you said to start now, you know, pillar, you moved to another level. If you want to start, you can still use hand pinning with people. But for pillar is 450,000 naira. That small pillar that you saw is 450,000 naira. You can have something bigger than that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. I think on this note, we have to call it a day, so that we join the general class now and learn all that you need to learn there. So thank you and bye-bye.